Have you ever looked out of your window late at night and felt like something was watching? Not a person standing in the shadows. Not a strange sound in the distance. But a feeling. A feeling that something keeps returning. Again. And again. And again. Tonight's story begins with that feeling. It begins with a man. A black car. And a mystery so unbelievable that when the truth finally surfaced, nobody who heard it ever forgot it. Stay with me until the end, because every detail matters. Every moment matters. And the final revelation changes everything you think you know. It started on a quiet street. The kind of street where nothing unusual ever happened. Children played outside during the day. Neighbors waved to each other. Dogs barked at passing mail trucks. Life was predictable. Comfortable. Normal. But then something changed. At first, nobody noticed. One night, around 11:47 p.m., a black sedan slowly drove through the neighborhood. There was nothing particularly strange about that. Cars passed through all the time. The vehicle moved quietly. No loud music. No headlights flashing. No suspicious behavior. Just a black car. It passed. And disappeared. The next night, it returned. Same time. Same speed. Same route. Again, nobody thought much of it. But on the third night, something happened. A woman named Clara was taking out the trash. As she rolled the bin toward the curb, she noticed the black sedan. The vehicle slowed. Almost stopped. And then continued forward. Clara watched it disappear around the corner. A chill ran down her spine. Not because anything had happened. But because it felt deliberate. Like the driver had been looking for something. Or someone. She shrugged it off. Went back inside. Locked the door. And forgot about it. At least, she tried to. The following evening, the car returned. Then the night after that. Then the next. Every night. Without fail. Same black sedan. Same route. Same time. Weeks passed. Soon the entire neighborhood noticed. People began talking. Who was driving it? Why did it always appear at the same hour? Why did it circle the same houses? Rumors spread quickly. Some believed it belonged to a private investigator. Others thought it was a criminal scouting homes. A few insisted it was connected to something much darker. But nobody knew the truth. Not yet. Because the truth was hidden beneath layers of secrets that stretched back years. One evening, a retired teacher named Harold decided he had enough. Harold wasn't afraid of much. At 72 years old, he had seen enough in life to know that fear often grows in silence. So he made a decision. The next time the car appeared, he would follow it. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the sedan arrived. Harold waited. The vehicle passed. He started his own car. And followed. At first, everything seemed normal. The sedan drove through 3 neighborhoods. Made a few turns. Stopped briefly at a traffic light. Then continued. But suddenly something strange happened. The black car accelerated. Not aggressively. Not recklessly. Just enough to create distance. As if the driver knew someone was behind them. Harold's heart pounded. He continued. Then the sedan turned into an abandoned industrial district. A place few people visited after dark. The streets were empty. Silent. The black car turned one final corner. Harold followed. And then it vanished. Gone. No side streets. No exits. No garages. Nothing. The car had simply disappeared. Harold searched for nearly 30 minutes. There was no sign of it. When he returned home, he couldn't stop thinking about what happened. The story spread quickly. And now the mystery grew even deeper. Because if the car wasn't simply driving around, what was it doing? Months passed. The nightly visits continued. Then one night, a teenager named Ethan made a discovery. Ethan had a hobby. He loved cameras. Drones. Recording equipment. Anything involving technology. After hearing about the mysterious sedan, he decided to set up several cameras around the neighborhood. Every angle. Every street. Every entrance. He wanted answers. And for the first time, someone was about to get them. At 11:47 p.m., the black car appeared. The cameras recorded everything. The vehicle moved slowly through the neighborhood. Exactly as expected. But when Ethan reviewed the footage the next morning, he noticed something unusual. The sedan wasn't randomly circling. It wasn't choosing routes by chance. It was stopping for exactly 7 seconds in front of one specific house. Every single night. 7 seconds. No more. No less. Then it continued. Night after night. Week after week. Always the same house. House number 18. The house belonged to an elderly woman named Margaret. Margaret lived alone. She rarely left home. She had no enemies. No criminal history. Nothing remarkable. At least, that's what everyone believed. When Ethan shared his discovery, the neighborhood exploded with questions. Why Margaret's house? Why stop there? Why 7 seconds? What was so important about that property? Nobody could explain it. Not even Margaret. When asked about it, she seemed confused. Concerned. Almost frightened. And then she revealed something nobody expected. Years ago, Margaret's husband had disappeared. Not died. Disappeared. One evening he left for work. And never returned. No evidence. No explanation. No goodbye. Nothing. The case went cold. Decades passed. People forgot. Life moved on. But now, the black car had brought those memories back. And suddenly everyone wondered whether the two mysteries were connected. What happened next shocked the entire town. 3 nights later, a handwritten envelope appeared on Margaret's porch. No stamp. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside was a single sentence. I never stopped watching over you. Margaret nearly fainted. The handwriting looked familiar. Terrifyingly familiar. It resembled her husband's writing. The man who vanished decades earlier. The man everyone assumed was gone forever. Police became involved. Investigators examined the note. Nothing. No clues. No suspects. No answers. Meanwhile, the black sedan continued its nightly visits. Now the entire neighborhood watched. People waited behind curtains. Security lights illuminated driveways. Phones recorded video. The mystery consumed everyone. But the truth remained hidden. Until one stormy night changed everything. Rain hammered the streets. Thunder shook windows. Most people stayed indoors. But the black sedan arrived anyway. 11:47 p.m. Right on schedule. This time, however, something unexpected happened. The vehicle stopped. Not for 7 seconds. Not briefly. It stopped completely. Directly in front of Margaret's house. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He wore dark clothing. No umbrella. No hesitation. He walked toward the front porch. Placed something near the door. Then returned to the vehicle. The sedan drove away. By morning, the entire neighborhood had gathered. On Margaret's porch sat a small wooden box. Inside the box was an old photograph. A photograph nobody had ever seen. Margaret stared at it. Then began to cry. Because standing in the picture was her husband. And beside him stood a young boy. A boy nobody recognized. On the back of the photo were 6 words. The truth lives beneath the oak. That was all. Nothing more. The neighborhood had spent months fearing a stalker. A criminal. A threat. But now the mystery had transformed into something else. A puzzle. A message. A trail. And someone wanted Margaret to follow it. The next morning, people gathered around the enormous oak tree behind her property. It had stood there for generations. Its roots stretched deep into the earth. Many assumed the clue referred to that tree. After hours of searching, they found something. A small metal container buried beneath the roots. Inside were documents. Letters. Photographs. And a journal. What they discovered left everyone speechless. Years earlier, Margaret's husband had uncovered a financial crime involving powerful individuals. People with influence. People with money. People capable of destroying lives. He had gathered evidence. Recorded names. Collected documents. And when he realized the danger he was in, he made a decision. He disappeared intentionally. Not because he wanted to leave Margaret. But because he believed staying would put her in danger. He spent decades hidden. Watching from afar. Protecting her the only way he could. The black sedan. It wasn't circling the house to threaten anyone. It wasn't stalking. It wasn't hunting. It was returning night after night because someone had made a promise. A promise never to abandon the woman he loved. A promise kept in secret for decades. The driver of the black sedan was not Margaret's husband. He had passed away years earlier. The driver was the boy from the photograph. The child he had rescued. The child he had raised. The child who grew into a man. And before Margaret's husband died, he gave him one final mission. Watch over Margaret. Make sure she's safe. Never let her be alone. The black sedan had been fulfilling that promise every night. For years. The neighborhood sat in stunned silence. All the fear. All the speculation. All the terrifying theories. Gone. Replaced by a truth nobody expected. The mysterious black car wasn't a symbol of danger. It was a symbol of loyalty. Of sacrifice. Of a promise stronger than time. But the story wasn't over. Because buried within those documents was one final revelation. A sealed letter addressed directly to Margaret. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside were words written decades earlier. Words her husband hoped she would one day read. As tears filled her eyes, she whispered the final sentence aloud. And every person standing there felt chills. The letter ended with these words. If you are reading this, it means my promise succeeded. You were never alone. Not for a single night. Silence filled the yard. Even the wind seemed to stop. Because at that moment everyone finally understood. The black car. The nightly visits. The mysterious messages. The hidden clues. None of it was about fear. It was about devotion. A devotion so powerful that it survived decades. A devotion that continued long after one life ended. And that is why the truth behind the black car left everyone speechless. Not because it revealed evil. Not because it exposed danger. But because it revealed something far rarer. A promise that never broke. A promise that never disappeared. A promise that kept returning every night. Right on time. Until the truth finally came home. The neighborhood thought the mystery was over. The black car had been explained. The documents had been found. The hidden letters had been uncovered. And Margaret finally had answers after decades of uncertainty. For a few days, peace returned. People slept better. Curtains remained open. Porch lights turned off. Life seemed normal again. But then something happened that nobody could explain. 3 nights after the discovery beneath the oak tree, the black sedan returned. Exactly at 11:47 p.m. The entire neighborhood froze. That wasn't supposed to happen. The promise had already been revealed. The truth was already known. So why was the car back? Margaret saw it first. She was sitting beside her living room window when the familiar headlights appeared. Slowly. Quietly. Moving through the darkness. The same route. The same speed. The same vehicle. Margaret's hands began shaking. Because according to the journal, the young boy who had grown into the driver had already left town. He had fulfilled his mission. There was no reason for him to return. Yet the car was here. Again. The next morning the neighborhood gathered. Everyone had the same question. Who was driving it now? That evening several residents decided to stay awake. If the vehicle returned, they would find out. 11:40 p.m. The street was silent. 11:45 p.m. People waited behind windows. 11:47 p.m. The black sedan appeared. Right on schedule. This time it stopped directly in front of Margaret's house. Everyone watched. The driver's door slowly opened. A figure stepped out. But before anyone could clearly see the person's face, something shocking happened. The streetlights suddenly went dark. One after another. The entire block lost power. Darkness swallowed everything. People rushed outside with flashlights. But when the lights returned 3 minutes later, the car was gone. And sitting on Margaret's porch was another envelope. No fingerprints. No return address. No clues. Inside was a single sentence. They know the files have been found. The atmosphere changed instantly. Fear returned. Not the fear of the black car. The fear of whoever the note was talking about. Because everyone remembered what had been buried beneath the oak tree. Evidence. Names. Records. Secrets. Secrets involving powerful people. People Margaret's husband had spent years hiding from. And now someone apparently knew those secrets had resurfaced. The question was terrifying. How? The documents had never been released publicly. Only a small group of people had seen them. Yet somehow someone else knew. That realization sent chills through the entire town. For the first time, people wondered if the original mystery had never truly ended. Maybe the black sedan wasn't the only thing watching the neighborhood. Maybe someone else had been watching too. The following day, Ethan, the teenager who had installed the cameras months earlier, made another discovery. He reviewed old footage. Frame by frame. Hour by hour. Night after night. At first everything looked normal. Then he noticed something. Something impossible. Every time the black sedan entered the neighborhood, another vehicle appeared exactly 2 minutes later. A dark SUV. Different make. Different model. Different route. Yet always present. Always hidden. Always staying just far enough away to avoid attention. Nobody had noticed it before because everyone had been focused on the black sedan. But now the pattern was obvious. The SUV had been following the sedan. Not occasionally. Every single night. For months. The room fell silent as Ethan showed the footage. Because this changed everything. If someone was following the black sedan, then perhaps Margaret's husband had not been hiding from the past. Perhaps the past had never stopped chasing him. That night nobody slept. Residents checked locks. Security cameras were upgraded. Phone numbers were exchanged. People began looking over their shoulders. And at exactly 11:47 p.m., the black sedan returned. But this time something extraordinary happened. Instead of circling Margaret's house, it stopped in the center of the street. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He wore a black coat. His face remained hidden beneath the shadows. Slowly he walked toward the middle of the road. Then he placed a small package on the pavement. Without speaking a word, he returned to the vehicle and drove away. The neighborhood waited until morning. When the package was finally opened, people discovered an old cassette tape. Nothing else. Just a cassette. No note. No explanation. No label. Margaret stared at it for a long time. Then suddenly her eyes widened. She recognized it. Years ago, before her husband vanished, he used to record messages on tapes. Private recordings. Personal thoughts. Memories. Things he never shared with anyone. Could this be one of them? The neighborhood found an old cassette player. Everyone gathered inside Margaret's living room. The tape clicked. Static filled the room. Then a voice emerged. A voice nobody had heard in decades. Margaret immediately burst into tears. It was her husband. His voice sounded older. Tired. Worried. But unmistakably his. The recording began. If this tape reaches you, then events are moving faster than I feared. The room fell silent. Everyone listened carefully. His voice continued. There are people who will never stop searching for what I uncovered. If they learn the evidence survived, they will come. A chill spread through the crowd. The tape continued. For years I believed distance would protect everyone. I was wrong. Margaret covered her mouth. The recording grew more urgent. If you are hearing this now, it means someone has returned. Returned. The word echoed in everyone's mind. Who had returned? The tape suddenly ended. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. The mystery had become larger than ever. Because now everyone knew one thing. Someone was still searching. Someone still wanted whatever Margaret's husband had hidden. And they were close. Very close. 3 days later, another shocking discovery was made. A resident found tire tracks behind the abandoned industrial district where Harold had lost the black sedan months earlier. The tracks led toward an old warehouse. A warehouse nobody had entered in years. Windows were broken. The roof was partially collapsed. The building looked abandoned. But when investigators entered, they found evidence that someone had been there recently. Fresh footprints. Recent food wrappers. A portable radio. And on one wall, a map of the neighborhood. Pinned directly in the center was a photograph of Margaret's house. The room fell completely silent. Someone had been monitoring the area. Someone had been planning something. And whoever it was clearly cared about Margaret's property. But why? The answer arrived that same night. 11:47 p.m. The black sedan appeared once again. This time, however, it wasn't alone. The dark SUV Ethan had discovered followed behind it. Closer than ever before. Residents watched from their windows. The sedan turned the corner. The SUV accelerated. Suddenly the quiet street exploded into chaos. The SUV raced forward. The sedan accelerated. Both vehicles disappeared into the darkness. People heard tires screeching. Then silence. Complete silence. Nobody slept that night. Hours later, just before sunrise, police discovered both vehicles abandoned near the edge of town. Empty. No drivers. No witnesses. No explanation. But inside the black sedan was something that would change everything. A single photograph. Taken only days earlier. The image showed Margaret standing beside the oak tree. She wasn't alone. Standing behind her was a man. A man nobody recognized. Written across the back of the photo were 5 chilling words. He finally found her. And in that moment, every person involved realized the nightmare wasn't over. The black car wasn't the final mystery. It was only the beginning. Because somewhere out there was a man. A man connected to Margaret's husband's past. A man who had spent decades searching. A man who now knew exactly where to look. And what happened next would reveal a secret so unbelievable that the entire town would question everything they thought they knew. To be continued. The photograph changed everything. For years, the neighborhood believed they were dealing with one mystery. A black sedan. A missing husband. A decades-old secret. But now they understood something terrifying. There had always been a second mystery. A second player. A second shadow moving behind the first. And nobody knew how dangerous that shadow truly was. The words written on the back of the photograph haunted everyone. He finally found her. Found her. Not found the documents. Not found the evidence. Found her. Margaret. The woman who had unknowingly become the center of a secret that stretched back more than 30 years. For the next several days, fear spread through the neighborhood. People stopped walking alone at night. Curtains remained closed. Porch lights stayed on until sunrise. Every unfamiliar face became suspicious. Every strange sound caused concern. And Margaret herself felt something she hadn't felt in decades. She felt watched. Not by the black sedan. Not by the man who had protected her. By someone else. Someone unseen. Someone patient. Someone waiting. Then came the phone call. It happened at exactly 2:13 a.m. Margaret's landline rang. The sound echoed through the silent house. She stared at the phone. Nobody called at that hour. Nobody. The ringing continued. Once. Twice. 3 times. Finally she answered. For several seconds there was only silence. Then a man's voice spoke. Calm. Slow. Almost emotionless. I've been looking for you a very long time. Margaret's blood ran cold. Before she could answer, the caller hung up. No threats. No explanation. Nothing. Just those words. The next morning investigators traced the number. The call couldn't be tracked. It appeared to have originated from multiple locations simultaneously. A technical impossibility. The mystery deepened. And then Ethan made another discovery. One that nobody was prepared for. After examining thousands of hours of camera footage, he found something hidden in plain sight. Something nobody had noticed. Not even once. Every time the black sedan entered the neighborhood, a figure appeared on camera. Not in the car. Not following the car. Watching it. The same figure. Always standing at a distance. Always dressed in dark clothing. Always facing Margaret's house. Night after night. Month after month. The person never approached. Never interacted. Never moved closer. Just watched. The footage stunned everyone. Because it meant the mystery was larger than anyone imagined. Someone had been observing everything. The black sedan. Margaret. The neighborhood. The clues. The discoveries. Everything. Whoever they were, they had remained invisible for years. Until now. The investigation intensified. Police reviewed records. Old reports. Cold case files. Property documents. Missing person reports. Anything connected to Margaret's husband. And eventually they uncovered a name. A name buried deep within documents nobody had touched for decades. Victor Hale. Most people had never heard it before. But Margaret immediately recognized it. Her face turned pale. Because Victor Hale was the last person known to have met her husband before he disappeared. Years ago, investigators questioned him. Nothing was proven. Nothing linked him to the disappearance. Eventually the case went cold. Victor vanished from public records. Almost as if he had never existed. Yet now his name had returned. And with it came new questions. Where had he been all these years? Why was he connected to the secret documents? And was he the man who finally found Margaret? The answer arrived sooner than anyone expected. 3 nights later, at exactly 11:47 p.m., something unprecedented happened. The black sedan returned. But instead of circling the neighborhood, it stopped directly in front of Margaret's house. Its headlights remained on. The engine continued running. Yet nobody stepped out. Residents watched nervously from their windows. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Still nobody exited the vehicle. Finally Harold gathered enough courage to approach. Several others followed. Slowly they moved toward the sedan. Their hearts pounded. The driver's door was unlocked. Harold opened it. And froze. The seat was empty. Nobody inside. No driver. No passenger. No sign of anyone at all. The engine was running. The lights were on. Yet the vehicle was completely abandoned. Then Ethan noticed something. A small envelope taped beneath the steering wheel. Inside was a handwritten message. Only 8 words. He is closer than you think. A cold silence swept across the street. Because if the note was true, then whoever had been leaving clues still existed. And whoever they were, they knew exactly what was happening. The following evening brought the biggest shock yet. Margaret received a package. No return address. No fingerprints. No shipping records. Inside was a small key. Nothing else. No note. No explanation. Just a key. At first it seemed meaningless. But then Margaret remembered something. Years ago, before her husband disappeared, he rented a storage unit. A place where he occasionally kept documents and personal belongings. After his disappearance, investigators searched it. Nothing significant was found. Eventually it was abandoned. Forgotten. Or so everyone believed. The key matched the lock. The very next morning a small group traveled to the storage facility. The manager looked confused. According to official records, the unit should have been empty for decades. Yet when they opened the door, everyone gasped. Inside sat dozens of sealed boxes. Perfectly preserved. Untouched. Waiting. As if someone had been expecting this moment. The boxes contained photographs. Letters. Financial records. Maps. Journals. Evidence. Years and years of evidence. But one item stood out above everything else. A video cassette labeled, "If Victor Hale returns." The room fell silent. The tape was carefully played. Static filled the screen. Then Margaret's husband appeared. Older. More tired. But very much alive at the time of recording. He stared directly into the camera. As if speaking across decades. His first words sent chills through everyone. "If you are watching this, then Victor finally made his move." The room became completely silent. The recording continued. For years, Margaret's husband had secretly gathered evidence against a network of corruption. Victor Hale wasn't merely involved. He was one of its leaders. A man skilled at disappearing. Manipulating records. Erasing trails. Building influence without attracting attention. And when Margaret's husband discovered the truth, he became a target. That was why he vanished. Not out of fear. Out of necessity. He believed exposing Victor directly would put innocent people in danger. So he hid the evidence piece by piece. Scattered it across different locations. Created trails. Messages. Clues. And one final plan. A plan designed to activate only if Victor ever returned. The tape ended with one shocking revelation. Victor wasn't searching for money. He wasn't searching for revenge. He was searching for something hidden inside the evidence itself. Something so valuable that he had spent decades trying to recover it. But before the recording could explain what that thing was, the tape abruptly ended. The room erupted with questions. What was Victor looking for? What was hidden among the documents? And why was it worth 30 years of searching? The answer came from the last box. At the very bottom lay a sealed envelope. Margaret opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a map. A detailed map of the town. One location had been circled in red. An old church at the edge of town. A church abandoned years ago. Alongside the map was a note. 5 simple words. The final truth waits here. That night nobody slept. Everyone knew the mystery was approaching its conclusion. The next morning investigators, residents, and Margaret traveled to the abandoned church. The building stood silent beneath gray skies. Dust covered every surface. Broken stained glass windows allowed thin beams of sunlight to enter. For hours they searched. Nothing. Then Ethan noticed something unusual beneath the altar. A hidden compartment. Inside was a metal box. Locked. The key from the package fit perfectly. When the box opened, every person present stopped breathing. Inside was not money. Not gold. Not jewels. But something far more powerful. Original records. Undeniable proof. Names. Transactions. Photographs. Evidence capable of exposing everything Victor Hale had spent decades hiding. And beneath those records lay one final letter. Margaret unfolded it. Tears filled her eyes as she recognized her husband's handwriting. The letter contained his final message. A message written for the day the mystery ended. It read, "People will tell you that darkness always wins because darkness is patient. They are wrong. Truth is even more patient. Truth may wait years. It may wait decades. But eventually it arrives." By the time Margaret finished reading, many people were crying. Because after all the fear, all the sleepless nights, all the mysteries, the truth had finally arrived. Victor Hale was eventually located. The evidence proved impossible to deny. His hidden past was exposed. The secrets he spent decades protecting disappeared in a matter of weeks. And for the first time in more than 30 years, Margaret felt free. No black sedan. No anonymous notes. No unanswered questions. Only peace. Months later, the neighborhood returned to normal. Children played outside again. Neighbors laughed together again. Life moved forward. But every now and then, late at night, someone would remember the black car. The vehicle that started it all. And they would realize something remarkable. The story was never really about a car. It was never about surveillance. Or fear. Or mystery. It was about a promise. A promise strong enough to survive decades. A promise that protected the truth until the exact moment it was needed. And that is why the legend of the black sedan was never forgotten. Because sometimes the most unbelievable stories are not about evil hiding in the darkness. Sometimes they are about loyalty refusing to die. And sometimes the truth circles closer and closer every night. Until eventually, it stops right in front of your door.